We're going to read one of my favorite books today, The Tree Lady. The true story of how one tree-loving woman changed a city forever, by H. Joseph Hopkins, illustrated by Jill McElmurry, published by Beach Lane Books. Kathrine Olivia Sessions grew up in the woods of Northern California. She gathered leaves from oaks and elms. She collected needles from pines and redwoods, and she braided them together with flowers to make necklaces and bracelets. It was the 1860s, and girls from Kate's side of town weren't supposed to get their hands dirty. But Kate did. Kate listened well in school. She learned how to write and count. She remembered the poems and stories she read. But best of all, she liked studying wind and rain, muscles and bones, plants and trees, especially trees. Most girls didn't know if they wanted to study science, but Kate knew she did. Kate felt the trees were her friends. She loved the way they reached towards the sky and how their branches stretched wide to catch the light. Trees seemed to Kate like giant umbrellas that sheltered her and the animals, birds, and plants that lived in the forest. Not everyone feels at home in the woods, but Kate did. When Kate grew up, she left home to study science at college. She looked at soil and insects through a microscope. She learned how plants made food and how they drank water, and she studied trees from around the world. No woman had ever graduated from the University of California with a degree in science before, but in 1881, Kate did. After graduation, Kate took a job in Southern California. When her boat docked in San Diego, she saw that her new home was a desert town. Kate never thought she would live in a place with very few trees, but now she did. I don't see any trees. Kate began her job as a teacher. She was also the vice principal of the school, so she had to make sure that everyone followed the rules. Kate missed studying science, and she was not sure she would stay on the job, but for 2 years she did. From her school, Kate could see City Park in the hills above town. It was called a park, but it didn't look like one. It was where people grazed cattle and dumped garbage. Most San Diegans didn't think trees could ever grow there, but Kate did. With Kate's love for the woods, she thought San Diego needed trees more than anything else, so she left teaching to become a gardener. She knew she must plant trees that could live in dry soils with lots and lots of sunshine. Her friends worried Kate wouldn't find trees like that, but she did. Kate became a tree hunter. She wrote letters to gardeners all over the world and asked them to send her seeds that could grow in the desert. She also traveled south into Mexico to look for trees that liked hot, dry weather and steep hills and canyons. Not everyone knows how to hunt for trees, but Kate did. These letters say that she wrote to Uganda, Africa, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, Morocco, Chile, Argentina, Algeria, Egypt, the Nori Coast, Portugal. And she found these plants over here. Let's see what they're called. This first one at the top is called the yucca plant. The one next to it is eucalyptus. And then the Aleppo pine. And this polka dotty one over here is boojum. It's kind of silly. And then the one underneath in the second row is the quiver tree. The one next to it is jacaranda. The one next to it is Italian cypress. It kind of looks like a Christmas tree. This bristlecone pine looks like this S of a tree. Brazilian pepper is at the bottom. The palm tree looks like it has a pineapple in it. The naked coral tree with the red-looking flower bulbs on top of it. And the dragon tree. Soon, Kate's trees were planted along streets, around schools, and in small parks and plazas all over town. People bought trees from Kate's nursery and planted them in their yards. From elms and oaks to eucalyptuses and palms. By the turn of the century, young trees from Kate's nursery were growing in every part of San Diego. Most people didn't think a desert town could sustain so many trees. but Kate did. Then, in 1909, the city leaders announced that a great fair called the Panama, California Exposition was coming to San Diego in 1915. The fair would be held in City Park, which was now called Balboa Park. Kate felt Balboa Park still needed more trees. Thousands more. A whole 1,000 cube more of trees to look beautiful and to shade the visitors that came to the fair. All these men are saying, trees, trees, more trees. That was too many trees for Kate to plant by herself, but she knew lots of people could do it together. She asked her friends to bring their friends and come to park for plant. She asked her friends to bring their friends and come to the park for tree planting parties. Again and again, people volunteered to help. Those volunteers weren't sure they could plant enough trees, but before long, they did. Let's count how many bucket fillers we see in this picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14 if we add the horse. And when the fair opened, San Diego was ready. Millions of trees and plants filled Balboa Park. The fair had so many visitors, it stayed open for 2 years instead of just 1. People came from near and far to see the attractions and stroll in the cool shade. The fairgoers couldn't believe San Diego had such magnificent gardens, but thanks to Kate, it did. In the years after the fair, Kate was given many awards for her work, and people took to calling her the mother of Balboa Park. She continued gardening and planting trees until her death in 1940. Back then, few could have imagined that San Diego would become the lush, leafy city it is today. But all along, year after year, Kathrine Olivia Sessions did. Thank you so much for listening to this book. I hope that you guys loved learning about Kathrine. I think she's really fun, and she's someone to look up to. I hope that you guys can be bucket fillers just like her, especially during this Earth Month. So please share any pictures that you have of whenever you and mommy or daddy do something fun outside, because we love seeing them. It really fills our bucket.